Hi. I'm afraid I've taken a lot of steps without being videoed because I took it in a rush. I think partly because the whole colour scheme is complex. It's not one I've ever tried before, and I've only tried it because I've got these AK felt tip paint markers, which work really well actually. So in the end, I knew I'd been avoiding it in case it didn't go right somehow. And in the end, I thought, I'm just going to get on with it, and just went for it. So, took several stages at once. The camouflage scheme is complicated because I started looking up. Apparently, this pattern is called arabesken, is the German term for it. These wiggly lines, called mirror wave pattern in English mostly. I've seen it used on all kinds of aircraft in photographs, and I'm not sure it's always applied to aircraft flying over the sea specifically. It seemed to have been used in all kinds of cases, bombers and all sorts. So I'm not sure. But when I started looking it up, I thought, well, I'll look online just so I have some impression of how the patterns work. What I found was quite a bit of dispute about this colour scheme. This is supposed to be one of Rommel's particular aircraft. A dark yellow, dunkelgelb, I think they call it, a sand yellow. There seemed to have been two colours. And when I looked at my paint charts, there was a yellower one that was used first, and then this one, which is sort of rather browner, a bit more muted, slightly darker. That is the colour schemes, yeah. The colour chart.
When you talk about colour charts, your paint chart, you might need to show people what you mean.
This is one of the colour charts I've got from, where did I get this? Some series of looked up a colour books. So I think, as far as I could gather, initially in the desert war they used this colour, but went to this. It's considerably darker. What I chose in the end was a colour supposedly for German armour. It was the basic German armour colour from early-ish in the war, and then greens and browns over the top of that. So I began to worry that was a bit dark, but it's not far off. It's a bit between the yellow and the sandgelb, the brownish thing. Also disputes when you start looking at comments from people. Some say it was most likely a German splinter scheme colour originally, with two shades of green, with the arabesken over the top. Other people doubt that, so doubt on that. No, it's probably this, probably that. In the end, I got some faith, I think, in Japanese Tamiya research on such things. From books I've got, they do a lot of research, so I decided to go with that and just take the risk. So eventually, I just went for it. So this is the result. Came out quite well, I think. Doesn't quite look like a sprayed pattern, but then that wasn't going to happen. But it, I think for me, it represents it okay. So I did that. Underside's blue. The arabesken is supposed to be blue too, but slightly faded. Then I sprayed a layer of satin varnish to be able to put the transfers on, and I've just applied the transfers today. So some of the big ones were a bit split because I suppose they're a bit old, but I actually managed to put them together okay, and used, Mr. Mark Setter, Mr. Mark Softer on the transfers. Sorry, I still call them transfers. I know everybody else calls them decals, but for me, I grew up.
Well, they're transfers if you're British, aren't they? It's an American thing,
yes,
decals.
I think it's an Americanism, really. So That's where it's got to. It's still in parts because, you know, a lot of these transfers I wasn't going to be able to put on. So I couldn't do the arabesquing with the thing constructed because there's too many struts under the wings in the way. But the struts I've got ready to go on. Just have to clip them out. There's some quite odd parts I can't find any reference to in the instructions, so I'm just going to ignore them. I have no idea what they are. And I've got all parts there, undercarriage, all engine panels, the engine itself, exhaust stacks, a crew, well not a crew, a
We
Rommel
looked
type
at
figure,
crew last
which
time.
we've looked at. I shall paint eventually once I've got the
Don't want to
element.
bore us and tell us all about it
Propeller.
again, thanks. Sorry,
Yeah.
don't say that out loud.
Yes, you did, yeah. Well, it entertains me. And at the moment, because I've used what is it, not mark, this setter on it.
Hold on.
There's various different brands that do the same thing. I think Humbrol will do one as well, come there. The setter.
Nah, wait. Okay.
Improves the adhesion. So you put a load of that on the surface you're going to put the transfer on and get that into place. That helps it adhere. The satin finish, or gloss if you want to use gloss, produces a nice flat surface, so it adheres better and reduces the risk of silvering around the bits you don't trim off.
Silvering, what does that mean?
Well, it's where you get air trapped, because transfers, the markings are put on top of a film, transparent film, and the transparent film runs outside of the actual marking. So the risk is that you get air trapped under that film. It's called silvering.
It's actually film that's curled up or something.
It's got a bit of air under it. But
Right.
The setter should deal with that. But then over the top of that, Mr. Mark Softer. Mr. Mark.
That's probably why you've chosen it.
I can't even remember
Mr.
where I got it. I had it for ages. But this stuff, you once it's begun to set and stay in place, put this on the top, and this causes the transfers to the film to wrinkle up and settle, flatten into all the detail. So that happens gradually. You have to be careful because it wrinkles and looks quite unsettled. You have to be careful not to get too agitated by it. I think it's getting there. I might put another layer on to make it settle properly. And then let's think. It'll need a layer of matte varnish over the top of that, and I think I'll do some weathering. I might do the weathering before I put the matte varnish on, but I'll use some technique I've started using, a very fine, almost dry wash of diluted, I don't know, light tan. I think I might mix a colour, a bit of white and a bit of brown, sepia, something a bit denser from exhaust stains, that kind of thing. Get it just settle around panel lines, put a little dirt in places, and layer of matte varnish over the top. Sort of paint the navigation lights. What is it? Green on the starboard side and red on the port side. There's one on the tailplane too. I suppose I ought to keep the markings on the tail out of view because it's not surprisingly it's a rather provocative symbol.
Oh yeah, right.
So that's it. Sorry, I've missed a few stages, but there we are.
How sorry?
Not a lot, I have to say. Just thought I'd say it, you know.
Okay. Are you done?
That'll do.
Okay.
See you next time.
All right. Thanks for coming.
You know, when I start to put it together.